On this week's episode, is it truly the end of the DC movie universe? The potential for a new source for science fiction? And is it time for some drastic changes with Overwatch? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. Pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there catching us on all of our shows, listening to all of our great shows as we cover the world of pop culture every week, twice on once on Monday, once on Friday, and every now and then we throw stuff in the middle of the week as well. But it wouldn't be a pop culture cosmos without my good friend. He is the centurion of Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson, who just announced that they just finished and actually released the 100th episode of Topicocalypse. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. As if anyone reads the show notes, you can tell that we did not think the podcast would go this far. So we're all alive and kicking. It's still getting some downloads. So thank you. If you're one of the many people who have clicked on that, we certainly appreciate it. And it's a hopefully we'll have another 100 episodes in the bank here soon with more guest appearances by Gerald Glassford here. And
Although
here
although I will say it's going to be hard for me in the next couple weeks because I'm tied up with Girl Scout cookies here. Seems to be my life for the next at least 2 more weeks.
Do you know you're providing people with a service that they need and they're very grateful for?
I hope so. I'm glad they're getting their sugar fix, but it does leave me one tired pop culture host. But it is going to be a great show we have for you today. We're going to be talking about a lot of things going on when it comes to pop culture, when it comes to some stuff going on with Captain Marvel, which we're so excited for. It's finally coming out this week. We cannot get enough of it, but it seems like there's some real anger and angst when it comes to the Captain Marvel movie that's coming out. We're going to talk about that more about that. We're going to talk more about that here in a sec. Also, as well, a movie came out that has a lot of people talking about the future of future possibilities for the science fiction genre. Also, as well, we're going to be talking possibly about what's going on with Gearbox Software as they're making some major announcements later this week. And also, as well, want to talk about Amazon and their future plans to battle Netflix as well. Plus, Stereo Monroy is back. The guys from Game Source, Tony and Jamie Monroy from Game Source, they're back talking Pokemon Sword and Shield and also what Overwatch needs to do to get back in good graces with gamers. But first off, my friend, this continues from our last show, the Friday show, PCC Multiverse. If you want to hear our thoughts, part one per se, on what's going on with the DC movie universe, you just got to check it out. It's right there on Podbean and so many other podcast catchers. We wanted to go ahead and continue another part of the discussion that the head of Warner Brothers Studios, Kevin Kevin Sujihara, when he was talking to the LA Times, he also mentioned, among other things, that he thinks the way that things are lining up now with Shazam, the Joker prequel, Wonder Woman 1984, Birds of Prey, and some other stuff coming down the line like the Batman and whatnot, he just thinks that there's some things that are going on differently that he likes to see more tightness of the actual each more tightness when it comes to the focus on each and every movie, but also as well the fact that they're not going to focus anymore in the future on an extended connected DC universe. Your thoughts on that? His comments continuing to create a lot of buzz that a DC universe, which I would like to see, doesn't look like it's going to be coming to fruition anytime soon, and that each of the movies that are coming up in the future are going to be solely focused on just trying to tell their own narrative instead of a larger overall theme.
A lot of the stuff coming, we discussed this previously on before the show started, but a lot of the stuff that's coming out regarding that, regarding his comments, are very misleading because he's not saying that they're not going to be connecting these universes at all. It just means that the movies are going to be focused more on standalone things. And then he said in the future, they're going to revisit putting them all together again. So they're going to develop the characters, but they're going to have them focus on their own narratives right now, which is really what they should have done in the first place. And started with Batman, and then we got our Man of Steel, and so on and so forth. But I like this because once these characters are all fleshed out, and then they decide to bring them all together in the future, that's going to be a lot stronger than what they had with Justice League.
I agree with you on that. The actual narratives of the actual self-contained movies will actually be better. And yes, they will have their own universes. Like for instance, they teased possibly Black Manta returning in a possible sequel, well, in the sequel to Aquaman, which I think is what coming in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And they're talking about extending their own universes for each and every successful movie that they have. Let's say Shazam becomes successful. A Shazam 2 probably will be teased at some point, whether it's within its own entity or something else, whether it's in its own movie or some type of other lead in that will just connect the Shazams together for right now. I'm just going to say this. I think maybe it is the right decision, even though I'm sad to see that they will not be trying to go ahead and make an overt effort to connect everything as far as the everything as far as the movies together as of now. I think it's probably the right move for DC because look, the Wonder Woman movie, when it focused solely on really trying to tell its own narrative, that's when it worked the best as far as with audiences. And the same thing goes for Aquaman. You know what? At this point in time, instead of just trying to go ahead and have those other storyline factors, although it did briefly mention what happened a year ago with the Justice League movie, so it does tell a little bit of that. But I will say this: it's something that probably is for the best. I'm just not happy with it because I want an overarching narrative. But now it tells me I don't have to see every DC movie if I don't want to because I won't be missing anything. With the Marvel movies, even if there's a movie that we don't like for instance, you and I didn't particularly care for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We thought that was a subpar movie, probably one of the lesser movies to come out in the recent past for Marvel. We could have skipped that movie. We could not have skipped that movie because it still tells so much of an important story when it concerned the overall narrative and Thanos coming on the way, and obviously the events leading up to Avengers Infinity War. Now it tells me maybe if I don't want to go see a Birds of Prey, or maybe if I don't want to go see a Joker prequel or a Shazam or anything else coming up, I don't necessarily have to see it because you know what? I'm not missing something as far as an overall scheme when it comes to a DC movie universe. Because as of right now, there's really not going to be much of an extended universe at this point in time.
Well, okay, so I might be misinterpreting, but they're still going to be connected. There's still going to be Easter eggs of other films inside these movies, like
But they'll
Shazam
be
has
very
a.
small. They're very,
Sure.
very small.
Right, right. So they're leaving it so when they choose to bring these heroes all together, they won't have to readjust storylines to do that. So they all, I guess, technically do still exist in the same universe, but like you said, it's not like how Marvel was building up towards Thanos. Like with Justice League, there wasn't any build up at all. Absolutely nothing except a few clips in Batman vs Superman, but Marvel spent all that time building up to that one thing, whereas DC, they're going to have to come up with some kind of thread to pull them all together, whether it's Infinite Earth or Injustice or whatever. I know that's what Zack Snyder wanted to build up to was Injustice, but um, they're going to have to take some time to plan that. For now, I'm glad they are developing these characters, and if the rumors are true, I think Arnie Hammer is close to closing a deal to play Batman, which could be really cool. But They really do need to focus on fleshing out these characters. And once they have them all fleshed out, I think that the DC universe could be looking pretty good.
I hope so. And they're trying to go about it in a better fashion. So I got to give them props for doing that. They're on a high note right now with the success of Aquaman. So you cannot argue with box office success. It looks like the fans are right now are tolerating and actually approving of what DC is using. So when it comes down to it, even though I would like a larger story arcing narrative at this point, all we're going to get are, like you say, is an Easter egg here, an Easter egg there. Like, for instance, we've seen already in the trailers for Shazam, you saw the Batarang from Batman mentioned, little mentions, I think like a news clipping for Superman or something like that. Just small, like you said, Easter eggs from this point forward until they feel comfortable once again to go ahead and and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and build this to a possible Justice League 2, or like you said, Infinite Earth, or some cataclysmic event that they have to go ahead and come together as a unit once again. But right now they're each of them are each of the stars of the DC movie universe are going to be doing their own thing in their own movies in their own universes for now. And I guess that's for the better, even though for many fans like myself that likes an overarching reason to go ahead and understand, whether it's end credit scenes, mid credit scenes, or just something within the overall movie itself pointing to a larger theme. We're really not going to get much of that for now. And with Warner Brothers, I think that's probably the right move, even though for fans like me, that may not be the thing that I want to hear the most right now from Warner Brothers and the DC movie universe. All right, my friend. We've also got a lot of stuff. We've also got a lot of other things to talk about when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it's dropping this week, my friend. It is dropping this week. It is Captain Marvel. I'm excited to see it. I know you are excited to see it as well. But a lot of other people that are out there in the troll lands and in the other places of the where the dark web or anything like that that gets together and meets up for doing all that mean and angry type stuff that's out there, they're doing a lot of trolling on Captain Marvel. I've seen that's popped up on my YouTube channel when I'm going ahead and looking for YouTube videos to watch, catching up to date on all that's going on in pop culture. I see a lot of stuff going on as far as negative videos on Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's not going to do this. Why Captain Marvel's going to bomb? Why Captain Marvel's going to tank? uh, Carol Danvers is this. Brie Larson is not doing well at that. Brie Larson said this. This is why Marvel. This is why Captain Marvel is going to fail because Captain Marvel did that. And then you go to sites like Rotten Tomatoes and trolls and misogynistic individuals that really just are really giving it a negative view already. Are already review bombing Rotten Tomatoes to the point where they're now having to go ahead and change the way they do things as far as user reviews. Your thoughts on all this trolling that's going on? Your thoughts on all this, bad vibes and just closed-minded views and basically just hate. Why all this hate for Captain Marvel at this point? And why all the hate for Captain Marvel at this point when the movie hasn't even come out yet and people need to give it a chance before you go ahead and just do all that stuff. But then again, this is the internet, so why am I even talking about it?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of like I think trolling, especially trolling something pre-release, is a an attempt to be relevant in a conversation that hasn't even been had yet. I totally understand, or I don't understand. I don't like I don't like trolling. I'm not a fan of it, and it's why are you why are you attacking something that you probably couldn't even do yourself? As far as making movies goes, but. Uh, I have a weird position on this because I'm stoked to see Captain Marvel, so don't take this the wrong way. But Marvel also has this thing they're doing lately where they're kind of setting themselves up for this type of thing though. Like it feels to me like they're ever since Black Panther, they're always trying to make political statements now. And it's one of those things where they don't have to say that. They can just say Captain Marvel is a hero for girls, and that's cool. Like that's fine. But they're doing all these interviews where the writer and the director are saying, yeah, we set out to make this statement. Like, and they don't need to do that kind of thing, because that's what's going to start, you know, getting the fires burning. And I I don't know. You know, I told you about Target. Did you go to Target after I told you about did you see any of that stuff?
I did get a chance to quickly check out a Target, and yes, it is loaded with Captain Marvel. So if you're a Captain Marvel fan that wants to go ahead and get some cool swag before you go ahead and check out the movie, that's the place to go. Or if you see the movie this weekend or in the coming days and you want cool places to go get some Captain Marvel swag, even though I think Target should be paying us for this. Yes, pop into a Target and go ahead and check that out, because like you said, there is a lot of stuff there for Captain Marvel, and that for me is good to see. I know you said it went a little bit overboard, but I'm thinking right now, whatever sticks, what other people buying in Captain Marvel is cool by me, because you know what? It just shows that finally we're getting to a point where people are more accepting of this. Wonder Woman broke a lot of broke a lot of went through a lot of ceilings as far as where we thought superhero movies could go, and this takes it even further. Black Widow will take it even further, and people have just got to stop this type of hate before the movie even comes out. Let people judge for themselves, and stop being so backwards as far as their mentality is concerned. We saw this last year with Black Panther. I don't remember seeing as much of it on Wonder Woman, although there was some. But definitely to me, this looks like it's something that it just is really bad for what you're seeing with Captain Marvel. I know you got some flack after the movie, but I'm talking about before the movie.
Right. Right. Okay. So, you know, this all goes back to a thing. Remember, we talked about this during our Oscar episodes, where I said that uh, there should always have been diversity in movies. Should have always been women leading movies, like Alita: Battle Angel, led by a woman protagonist, and I loved it. It was a great movie. But you know, we're at this point where this is going to keep happening, especially because movies like Black Panther, movies like Captain Marvel, movies like you know, even Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess, or Green Book, or whatever these movies are, they're all being marketed very, very politically. And if people stop, if companies stop doing that, I feel like the trolls would be slightly lessened, maybe. But then again, this is the age of the internet, and people are going to find reasons to hate anything, because everyone has a voice. Social media, aggregate sites, you know, Rotten Tomato, you give people a chance to have a voice on anything, and you're going to get negativity out of it. But at the same time, like, when are we going to get to that point where people stop, where we can go and see a movie and have a female protagonist and not be pressured into liking it? You know, Black Panther, like, I felt a lot of pressure into liking that movie. It's just the way that they're marketing these movies is kind of isolating people, I feel, in a way. But again, back to the trolls, I don't like the trolls, and they have no right to do something like that. There's issues on both sides of the debate, if that makes sense.
There is, but to me, like you said, there is no place for these trolls, these misogynistic fools that are out there that think they can go ahead and just because there's a woman at the front, at the lead, that it's not something that people should watch. You know what? Let people decide for themselves. Let them go ahead and be entertained or not so entertained by whatever it is they see on the screen, and let them decide from there. It's just not good for these type of individuals who are wasting their time and not putting it out to better, more positive reinforcing things by going out and doing more positive things that are out there, instead of going ahead and, you know what, oh, there's a woman that's going to be starring and leading a superhero role, we can't like that, we can't like that. That's not fair, that's not right, that's not that's not what it should be all about. You should give, whether it's a man or whether it's a woman, whether any race, whatever. You know, like you said, it's all about diversity. Shouldn't be so much of an issue to the point where it's still have to feel like we're breaking barriers. It should have already taken place. Diversity in movies should already have been there to this point. There shouldn't have been this type of format where now we're finally getting to the point where we're getting closer to that point where we should have been so long ago. It's just a shame that we have to go ahead and still single out these type of issues and go ahead and react so poorly to it. And we're still going to see it from now. We're still going to see it when Black Widow comes out. and yes, to a lesser extent, before the movie came out, Wonder Woman had those same type of issues. I think it was after the Wonder Woman was played and people started watching it that if people were to share a negative opinion, I know you firsthand, you said you liked it. You didn't say you didn't like it, but you said you liked it. You just didn't say you loved it, and you got a ton of flack for that, and which I thought was inappropriate because the fact is, if you're not allowed to like or not dislike a movie or not love a movie that a lot of other people do, it just seems like you're right. In the age of the internet, it just seems to backfire on you when you go ahead and you share opinion that not everybody else has.
Right, and I said the same thing about Black Panther. I liked the movie, didn't love it, and I still got a lot of crap about saying that. Anytime I say that to anyone, but it's weird. Okay, two things here. One, Black Widow, I actually don't think is going to get this much crap because it's been a heroine. Is there a distinguishing
Heroin.
heroine? Uh, she's been someone that we've been following for a very long time, so she's already well established in both with both men and women fans. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that won't be so much of an issue with her movie, especially because movies like Red Sparrow are out and stuff like that, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's basically a Black Widow movie," but who knows? But my
No, don't go there because Red Sparrow was one of the worst movies of
Right, but
2018.
it had the same, like, feel as the very tiny origin story of Black Widow we got in Age of Ultron. And my other statement here is, I honestly, like, again, like, I'm stoked to see Captain Marvel. Always loved her character in the comic book, so don't get me wrong here, but I think Marvel kind of set themselves up to be trolled the moment they had their writer and director go on and basically say, "Yeah, we did make this movie to make a statement." Like, if people go in to see the movie, they should go in it and let them, go into it getting what they're going to get out of it instead of having the writer and director tell you what they want you to get out of it, if that makes sense.
That it does, and just like you said, that it does, and it comes down to this: people need to decide for themselves whether or not they want to go see the movie, whether they would like to whether they want to go see the movie, and if they end up liking the movie when they go see it. I know a ton of people are going to go see it. I know even with all the distractions, with all the hate that's out there, with all the trolling, and with all the misogynistic comments that are out there, you know what? You know what? It's still going to do gangbusters at the box office. It's still projected to do over $100 million domestically here, and will probably end up, at least for a while until Avengers Endgame comes out, it will be one of the biggest hits of the year. Although we'll talk a little bit more about that here later in the episode about who's doing what at the box office. But for now, Captain Marvel has us excited. I cannot wait to go see it. I know Josh cannot wait to go see it. We'll hopefully be able to share our thoughts this weekend. In fact, we're going to share our thoughts at least on our Monday episode, if not sooner on our Friday episode. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on what's going on with Captain Marvel, because I know it's a big story that's coming out in pop culture. A lot of people have been looking forward to it, and I know Captain Marvel fans everywhere and Captain Marvel trolls everywhere have all their eyes set on what's going on this Friday. What are your thoughts out there on both the DC movie universe and also as well Captain Marvel? Shares her thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, I know a lot of stuff. Well, my friend, Netflix is still reigning on top as the big boy in town when it comes to streaming out there. But you know what? Everybody seems to have their different plan of attack on how they want to go ahead and compete with Netflix. Amazon recently announced that they're going to go ahead and compete in a different way when it comes to standing at some sort of level against Netflix with with a set an array of movies that are coming out possibly in the range of 30, was it 30 in the next year or whatnot, 30 different type of movies, shows that are not. they're not actually going to throw everything in the kitchen sink from what they're trying to do, comparatively speaking, to Netflix. It's something that, even though that dollar for dollar, Amazon does have the dollars to back up and match what Netflix is doing, they are still one of the best places to go as far as streaming is concerned, but they really don't want to match dollar for dollar with Netflix, even though they can. Your thoughts on Amazon's new approach to what they're doing as far as their slate coming up? I know the Lord of the Rings is something that they're big on, that they want to go ahead and complete as a series. I know that's just been teased with the map, not really anything really tangible so far on that, but they have spent what, close to a half a billion for the rights to go ahead and create something within that universe for Amazon. They're also talking, like I said, about 30 different movies coming out within the course of the next year, 2 years, that they're going ahead and compete with Netflix. Your thoughts on Amazon's chances with their new focus on trying to compete with Netflix? Is it something tangible? Is it something feasible? Or do you think they really need to do more to go ahead and be on the same level as Netflix?
It's gonna be a big long road for them because it's because if they're how many movies you said 40 movies
I believe it's 30. I believe it's
30
30. Let me go ahead and try and get
because
that for sure. But yeah, I believe it's 30 from what I remember in the conversation.
because they're already putting out a lot, and I know that they signed deals with Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond and James May to each have them do more shows on top of the Grand Tour based around things that they're interested in. So I imagine James May will do something about trains, but they're doing their best to secure all of this original content. But with 30 movies coming down the pipeline, even more series coming out, I know Bosch is doing really well. With all this stuff happening, they're going to have to. It's the release I think that matters because if they don't trickle these things out and they just throw it all out there at once, kind of throw it up onto their platform, people are going to get really overwhelmed with it. Like I already have a difficult enough time trying to find things to watch on Amazon Prime, whereas
Well,
Net.
I will say it's going to be 10 movies that are shown to big theaters, that are theatrically released and whatnot, and 20 that are just going straight to
Got
the
it.
Amazon Prime service.
Okay, yeah, because that's another thing. Like Manchester by the Sea won some awards. I know The Only Living Boy in New York won a couple awards from indie film festivals. So it's just it. I don't want them to dampen the quality of their movies. They make good movies. They just need to do something about how they release them. Because Netflix puts out a lot of original movies, but a lot of them are garbage too. So it's not exactly they're not exactly award winners or anything. And Amazon already has the unique stance of having films in indie film festivals, and they have their laurels already. So trying to compete with Netflix can also be very dangerous in terms of people being able to take them seriously and what kind of quality they're putting into things. Granted, they do have some good shows out there. I'm a huge fan of Grand Tour, Man in High Castle, things like that. But Netflix is kind of feels like a whole different platform to me. Where do you stand on this though?
Well, with your comments there, you almost sound like Netflix is patterning itself to be the Nintendo Wii of the streaming universe, as
Eh,
far as that's
Is
concerned.
that wrong though? I
Well,
mean,
it worked out well for Nintendo for the Nintendo Wii. So you know what? That's right now they are on top, and they have close to 90 movies that they're going to be releasing this year, as opposed to Amazon's plan, which, like I was saying, for the rest of 2019, that they're looking at targeting 10 movies theatrically that they're going to release on a theatrical basis, and then 20 more direct to Prime Video type movies that they're going to go ahead and produce over the course of the next year. So it's kind of, I mean, if you're just looking for bulk, if you're just looking for a lot of stuff that's coming out there and variations, something new to go at, you are still going to go ahead and tune into Netflix. Those 30 titles, which is again 1/3 of what Netflix is doing, if that's the case, those have to be of a higher quality on almost every occasion when it comes to what Amazon's doing, if you want to go ahead and have them compete or actually be a viable alternative to Netflix. So, no, they're not going to match dollar for dollar, and they're not going to match movie for movie as far as quantity is concerned. It has to be in the quality component that people have to consistently see when it comes to Amazon. Similar to what people think of when you're talking about HBO. When something comes out with HBO, you're thinking of maybe a little bit more higher brow as far as a product is concerned, a little bit higher quality. HBO doesn't. HBO also doesn't put out the quality of what Netflix does, the quantity of what Netflix does, but is perceived to be at a much higher quality on a per movie ratio or a per series ratio than what Netflix does, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, so well, I know HBO stars like they're more focused on original series as opposed to movies, and they they have good content. They put money into it. It's well produced. Like they're the ones that got this whole trend started. Whereas Netflix is really like I don't know how their format. I bet we could talk to Rob about this, but how their format works, where they'll buy content from people and they'll give them a certain share of royalties or whatever. But Netflix is really just they're content collectors. They're not really well, they do make some good original stuff. They have more collected content than they do. I'm thinking originally produced stuff. So
Well, for every Roma, they also have the Cloverfield paradox.
right.
So yeah.
Right. So they collect things from different studios, whereas HBO, Stars, Amazon too are more focused on the budget that they put into things. Like what was it? Lord of the Rings, I think it was estimated to cost uh,
Half a billion.
half a billion, but it's also there's planning on spending like 4 million per episode or something like that. So
Oh yeah, they're dishing out the big money, which I'm excited to see, and that's something that could get audiences away from Netflix if they're if the show or the series is good enough to be something that people will need as a replacement once a certain show on HBO goes away.
right, and that's a good point. So I mean, I know HBO is working on spin-off series or whatever, but let me ask you, I have a question for you, okay? Do you think with these platforms going big like this, making these big productions, do you think that the talented directors in Hollywood will start moving away from big budget blockbusters and start going more towards these because they have the opportunity to tell these stories they're passionate about in longer forms that are more fleshed out. So no longer will like Ridley Scott need to put out a director's cut of something in order to get tell the story he's trying to tell. Maybe we'll see an Alien series down the line. Who knows? But do you think that that's a possibility?
That could be a possibility of special editions released to these streaming outlets or to the highest bidder, whoever that may be, which as you and I both know, right now Netflix is spending the cash freely and they're just grabbing stuff at film festivals. They're doing their own stuff originally, and they're also going ahead and reaching out to other entities and major studios and production companies to try and grab their stuff too. Amazon may be doing that to a lesser extent, but they're still doing that. But it's just those other entities that are out there when it comes to Hulu, HBO, Stars, CBS All Access, and all the other streaming outlets that are out there that try to produce original content. They're getting left in the dust because of the sheer volume that Netflix continues to put out. I understand what Amazon is doing, trying to be an alternative. They're saying, you know what, Netflix can go ahead and put out 90 different movies out there in the course of 2019, but we're going to try and put out 30 different ones of our own. One third, one third the actual quantity, but even more when it comes to the quality as far as that's concerned. But even that goes awry, like I said, when it comes to for every Cloverfield Paradox, which is a horrible movie, they have a Roma which wins Academy Awards. So it's kind of a tit for tat right now. I mean, the volume right now speaks to Netflix, but in the long run, if the Lord of the Rings if the Lord of the Rings series works out and other movies of that ilk come to Amazon and prove that they can go ahead and continue to be a top of the line studio, maybe people will make the switch. But it's really hard to go ahead and say, you know what, now's the best time to go ahead and step away from Netflix.
Right, and at the end of the day too, these streaming platforms, they have so much potential to do things that have never been done before because they have the ability to take, say, a movie like Mortal Engines. Okay, I read the book series when I was a teenager. Like I love them. Great stories. Maybe it's not meant to be it's the series is made up of like 8 books, but maybe it wasn't meant to be a movie. Maybe it could have been a show on Netflix or Amazon Prime and been a lot better received. Um,
Right,
the
because it was poorly received, and I
yeah,
watched it
right.
recently, and it was not good at all.
Right, so maybe it could have been better had it been turned into a 10-episode show, it's just there's so much potential with what these streaming platforms are able to do, and I don't even think that they've hit the middle of what they're capable of. I think there's so much more that they can and will do. So it's hard to really say who's going to be on top of what because until we see who's Amazon snatched up Lord of the Rings, HBO has Game of Thrones, Netflix has a lot of things. They have the Marvel things, but there's still so much more they can do as far as book properties and things like that, comic books, Umbrella Academy. Like there's a lot of potential that I feel has or real estate I feel that has yet to be covered by these companies, and I'm really anxious and curious to see what they do with it.
I am as well. There are a lot of good things that are out there. For now, Netflix is doing enough right with all this volume for it to be justified for you watching it out there. If you want to go ahead and see what Amazon has coming up, they've had some good things coming up recently as far as with the Jack Ryan series and some other things that they've put out there. The Tick series is coming back to Amazon. Obviously, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which won all the awards out there at the Emmys, and is really a great comedy. That is something that a lot of people should still tune into because it is such a great show. I have a lot of compliments for it, and there's a lot of people out there as well. And it's like I said, it's an award winner out there, so it does provide Amazon with some quality material. But there is so much out there in the streaming world. But there is so much out there in the streaming world to watch. It's hard for everybody to find and pick and choose what they like. And there's so many things out there that you have to go ahead and decide upon. And I know everybody's money out there is not as expansive and unlimited to go ahead and watch all these things. So when it comes down to make choices, Netflix is still probably one of the safest bets out there. But with Amazon's new plan of attack on how it wants to compete with Netflix, even though dollar for dollar they can, it looks like for now, at least in the near future, dollar for dollar, they won't. What are your thoughts out there on Amazon competing with Netflix or anyone out there competing with Netflix? Disney Plus is coming down the road in the future. Could that compete favorably? Could that compete favorably with Netflix? Share us your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we got the guys from Game Source, Jamie and Tony Monroy. They're going to be talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield coming later to the Nintendo Switch and their thoughts on how it will fare over the course of the holiday season. Plus, also, is it too soon for a new Pokemon game, new set of Pokemon games to come to the Switch after only recently having Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu just come out in their own games just late last year on the Switch. They're going to be talking about that, plus the future of Overwatch, how it's real cloudy now, but some ideas on how to make it a lot better and a lot more palpable, and it will maybe possibly even have a lot of people returning to that game. They're going to talk about that coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. All right, my friend. Oh, all right, and we're back once again to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. If you need a listing where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, 7 days a week with our two shows, the Monday and Friday shows, but it's being replayed on radio stations all around the world, 7 days a week. Check out our listing today at Pop Culture Cosmos at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It just shows you right there all the different stations, their days and their times that they air our shows. Plus, if you just want to go ahead and download our episodes or just stream it right off of any one of those great podcast apps, We share a lot of those podcast links right there as well. Well, my friend, Mr. 100, you got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. Let us know outside of the great 100th episode that's out there for people, what else is going on. Well, you can include that too when it comes to Humanica Media.
Well, right now it's just the 100th episode got put out today, but you can always check out the back episodes too if you go on humanicamedia.com or youtube.com/humanicanmedia, or you can just check us out on Podbean. We're also up on Facebook, so check that out. There's some more stuff coming down the pipeline, but I don't have any info on it yet because I what?
Oh, just read when you get a chance.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, keep on with the pitch. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries, man. But yeah, more stuff coming out soon. It's time. You know all about that. Time to edit podcasts and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, once again, that is Topicocalypse, their 100th episode, and that's on the best TV show that you guys thought, correct?
Yes. So the next part will be our top video games of 2018, and then we're done with our awards for the year.
All right. And that's again on the Topicocalypse channel on Podbean, also Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so many other podcast outlets. Well, my friend, if I asked you right now, so far early in 2019, before Captain Marvel has come out yet, this is before. If I asked you, what is the biggest movie worldwide when it comes to the box office season? And who has garnered the most money before Captain Marvel has come out, mind you, worldwide? What would your guess be?
I would guess How to Train Your Dragon 3, Alita Battle Angel, and Glass.
Nyeh, nyeh, and triple nyeh. You are not correct, sir. I'll put that in there in post. You are incorrect, sir. I am so sorry. You will not win the car on this episode. I'm sorry about that. But those are the number 2, 3, and 4 movies worldwide at the box office, because at $655 million, according to Box Office Mojo, The Wandering Earth from China is by far and away the biggest movie that's out there this year worldwide. It has garnered, like I said, over $650 million at the box office, primarily out of China. It actually debuted earlier in February, and it has just really just got a lot of buzz about it. I believe Netflix has actually either bid or purchased that. I'm going to check up on that here in a second, but it looks like Netflix has a great interest in obviously showing The Wandering Earth to a larger audience. But again, it has scored huge in China. And to me, this is something that's very important to pop culture, because if you take a look at the trailer, it does show this type of science fiction movie, which we've seen versions of this type of thing in as far as domestically before, and as far as done before by domestic production companies and films of that ilk that were made here in the US or Europe or what have you. But this is something all entirely different, I think, from the Chinese film industry that really could change things going forward, something that they really haven't approached in a large detail. They've been more either historical or fantasy oriented, or at least the movies that they've been wanting to promote worldwide have been in that realm. But this is a science fiction disaster. This is something that's a big budget, huge blockbuster type film that I think really just changes the narrative going forward for the future on what the Chinese film industry could be all about as far as reaching a worldwide audience. Your thoughts on The Wandering Earth's success in China, first off, and the possibility that they could reach science fiction fans, pop culture fans worldwide with something that they produce that could really resonate with audiences worldwide.
Well, it's already playing down here. It's playing in Tustin, and there's a few other places I just saw. But yeah, I mean, this is don't get me wrong, the Chinese market in terms of filmmaking has never been the best, but this goes to show that maybe there's some untapped potential there. Maybe because they show our movies there, but we don't get a lot of their stuff here. And I don't know if it's with people don't like reading subtitles or whatever it is, but with this is epic. Like this movie looks great. I'm curious. I want to watch it, but there what else is out there? What else can we because we have butchered a lot of foreign properties in the past that we tried to adapt into American, but like this is good. This looks good. This looks like there's a lot of good quality put into it. It's science fiction. It's not, about mystical and legends and stuff like that. Like it seems to genuinely have a story in it that the likes of which have not really been told in America outside of a Roland Emmerich film. So heck, man, I mean, I didn't even know about this until you sent me that link earlier, but this looks amazing. Do you have any interest in seeing it?
Well, Netflix did buy it. That's the deal that they've made already with the Chinese film industry, the Chinese production company involved. They have purchased it, so you will be able to see it on Netflix. Going back to what we were talking about earlier about Amazon and Netflix again, Netflix again throws out the cash and look what it's got. I am interested in seeing it. And this intrigues me because this is not the first time that there could be a possibility of a movie that translates well, a foreign movie of this a foreign movie, a dub movie, subtitle movie that translates well to an entire audience. I mean, we've seen foreign movies from Europe. We've even seen movies from the Asian culture, such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, movies like that have resonated with folks out here in the West, in Europe, and in other places that have scored well, even though it is subtitled. But even though they were subtitled and they were meant for a different type of audience as far as the originating factor is concerned. So I am happy to see. Well, yeah, they did make a terrible sequel about. Yes, I agree with you on that. But you know what? The original it still stands up and is still great. And I love Chow Yun Fat and Michelle Yeoh. Anytime you can see them in a movie, just doing their stuff, doing their thing, it was really worthwhile. Especially in the late '90s and early 2000s, you check out some of the great stuff there. But I will say this: where Michelle Yeoh still our number one movie. My number one movie last year was starring Michelle Yeoh, and she's kicking butt on Star Trek Discovery, so she's still
Right.
rocking it.
She was even good in the Mummy 3, which was a terrible movie.
There you go, there you go. So I mean, she is doing great. More power to her, more props to her. But to me, it sets a better example because this is something we haven't seen from the Chinese film industry. Being able to have a movie that typically has only gotten success from American or European production companies. Now it could be something that a Chinese production or Chinese film industry movie could really score well with audiences on a worldwide basis. And we're not talking about just going ahead and being successful to a select few here in the United States and in Europe. We're talking about something that could reach a worldwide audience directly via Netflix. I think they're being very smart about it instead of going ahead and trying to show it into what 2,500 3,000 theaters here and trying to see if it will do well. They're showing it in some select theaters, but they're also going to be going ahead and making a major push on Netflix. I think it's a real smart deal. I think they're really trying to go ahead and do the right thing when it comes to the Wandering Earth. And in the long run, that just means that might be more opportunities for science fiction to come out of the Far East and really be something special that could resonate well with audiences.
Yeah, yeah, and it's if anything, like we really do need more variety in films here to watch, and that's one thing I do applaud Netflix for is giving people genres. Whereas, a lot of the big stuff we see in theaters here, it's superhero movies or it's something with a social message or the occasional rom-com. We don't really get much else from that. So, if the Chinese market has some good films for us that could really diversify what we see in terms of movie genres, I'm all for it, man. I think that we need that here now more than ever.
Another movie that of recent another movie in the recent past that has done well that was also subtitled was The Raid Redemption. It's one of my top 25 films of all time. I highly recommend it. It is one of the best kung fu movies, karate movies ever made, and that was subtitled. So if somebody wants to go ahead and check that out and see movies of different that were not originally meant for a worldwide audience are so good that they'd go and transcend to a worldwide audience, because even though people have to try and view the subtitles, and sometimes with people that they have this bias against subtitle movies, because you've heard people, I can't watch that movie because I can't just read subtitles. That to me is narrow-minded thinking, because there's a lot of great work out there, and we've talked about before with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Raid Redemption, and now The Wandering Earth. There could be some really good stuff out there that people are missing if they don't want to, if they don't check out these fine performances from films that come from different areas outside of just the usual suspects that we see so often.
Right, and also like Donnie Yen, if you've seen any of his stuff, he's he starred in Ip Man. He plays Ip Man, but like those are great movies. Even his like Legend of the Fist, like that's a great movie. Look at Tony Jaa's Ong Bak films. Even the Protector, like those were all really great movies, and they did very well in American film festivals. So there is a desire for that kind of thing. It's just nobody's really seems to want to take a chance on it, and that's what kind of I don't know, like makes people doubt that we'll ever see new original ideas on in any big theaters. So again, that goes back to the streaming platforms. There is a lot of untapped potential there in terms of what they can do, what kind of things they can provide to us, what they can show us.
And the first films that really had Jackie Chan, Jackie Chan really progress as a popular actor worldwide were films that were subtitled. Jet Li, the same thing, and Bruce Lee, even the same thing. Yes, they all made American English movies after that, but at first it was movies that had to be subtitled for you in order for English or outside audiences outside of the Far East to be able to go ahead and, for the most part, understand what was going on. It were subtitled movies, so even those actors have had great works before they went ahead and became worldwide box office stars. So there's a lot out there to choose from when it comes to the worldwide box office, the world movies that are made and produced worldwide. And one more addition is a huge addition. It's the biggest movie of the year so far to date. It is The Wandering Earth, and you'll be able to check it out pretty soon when it comes to Netflix. So look forward to that. Or even if it's playing right now in a theater, in select theaters near you, you might want to check it out there as the best experience, because it looks to me, from all appearances, it's that big blockbuster epic that might be best viewed on a movie screen. What are your thoughts out there on The Wandering Earth? Do you agree with us that this could be an option for you that you'll check out on Netflix or even on the big screen? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, don't forget to catch us on our Friday episode where we'll be talking nonstop, wall to wall on Captain Marvel. I got a lot of great things planned to talk about, and I know Josh has a lot of great thoughts on it as well, as far as the overall synopsis, where we think it's going to fit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how we think it's going to do financially, because we love the numbers here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Plus, I want to get some other opinions on what Captain Marvel will do for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hopefully, I want to get some guests on that to speak their mind as well. But before we head on out, my friend, you want to talk a little bit about Gearbox. Some decisions and announcements are being made pretty in the near future that you think are really going to shed some light on where Gearbox is going next.
Yeah, so we have not heard a lot from Gearbox in a while, past the scandals, the USB stick at medieval times, and his ever growing issues with his former business partner, and their yeah, USB stick like Gerald's holding. Yeah, and all that stuff. Like that's all we ever hear from them. And I'm a huge Borderlands fan, my absolute favorite video game of all time. And I am have
Really? I
been
would never know that.
I've been waiting for so long for Borderlands 3. And then this announcement pops up on the computer the other day that they have a panel going on at PAX where they're going to make 5 big announcements. And what we do know is one of them is most likely going to be a Brothers in Arms announcement. As for the other two, the speculation is one that it's going to be Borderlands 3, which I hope is a thing, and it needs to be released sometime in this year would be nice, or early 2020, maybe February or something. But the other one was interesting to me because I came across this on Reddit earlier that sources say that one of them is going to be a Borderlands 1 remaster, which if that's the case and that comes out this year, that could very well tide people over until Borderlands 3 comes out. But it's interesting to me that that would be a pick for them because they have never mentioned anything about it. If it was something they wanted to do, I thought they would have put it into the Handsome Jack collection. So super interesting. And as for the others, I don't know what else it could be. It's not like Gearbox, they're not going to put out another Battleborn or another Bulletstorm or something like that. There's not a lot out there other than Borderlands and Brothers in Arms that are really of any interest to people right now, unless they're
Let's
new
go.
IPs.
Okay, go ahead. Say it again. Finish
Uh,
something.
I was going to say, unless they're new IPs, in which case, what how are they using their resources in terms of things that they should be putting out? Because from what I understand, Gearbox is not doing so hot financially right now, so they really need to put out a hit, and it just doesn't seem like now's the right time to be investing in new IPs. They should put out something that they know is going to sell. But go ahead, what were you going to say?
You're not interested in a Duke Nukem Forever 2?
I just as much as I love the Duke, I just not no. No. Not after what they did to the last game.
I'm sorry to hear that. And I know Duke will as well. I know Duke will be sad as well. So that's a shame. But I think at some point they're going to redo his IP. I'm going to tell you right now. I think they will bring back Duke Nukem in some form. It may not be sooner, but it will be later. I'm almost going to guarantee it. Almost going to guarantee it at some point.
He's not really a character that fits well into modern gaming, but I can see him as a Borderlands character.
Well, there you go. That would be my out as far as that, or maybe some type of multiplayer character or whatnot. But I
Right.
think he's going to come back in some form.
Oh, he
Just
will be. He's iconic, but I mean just as a standalone character, I don't see him fitting very well into the modern gaming scene.
This is true. This is yeah, and in the environment that we're now currently living in. Yeah, I think he's a relic of the past. But I think sometime in the future, I think Duke Nukem will rise in some form or fashion once again, whether you like it or not. I mean, I just think it's something that's there in their library, and I don't think they've buried it for good.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Another Gerald Glassford prediction. Will it happen? Who knows? But you can hold him accountable for it at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com.
Yeah, but then again, I've got all of eternity to go ahead and wait for it, because we're talking about at any point in time.
This is true, but you do know that if he were, he
Uh,
would be one of those people that made the bad reviews about Captain Marvel pre-release.
Yeah, he would have been. You're right. That's true. He would have been the first of the trolls. All right, my friend. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, and I appreciate everyone out there catching our shows so much as well. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. Oh, I'm sorry. And I want to thank Jamie Monroy and Tony Monroy from Game Source for being part of the show and sharing their thoughts. Catch the Game Source podcast as it comes out. We're going to probably put it out later this week on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, but look out for all their stuff that they're doing on their streaming channels on Twitch and everything to look out for when it comes to Game Source, and also what Josh is doing at Humanica Media. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.